Before the lights of Hollywood dazzled the world, before the red carpets and golden statues, there was a darker side to the city of dreams, a side that shimmered with fame but reeked of secrets. For nearly a century, studios have done everything to protect their stars, rewriting history, sealing police reports, and covering up tragedies that would have destroyed careers. But time has a way of peeling away the gloss. These are the 17 Hollywood deaths the studios never wanted you to know about, and number 3 will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about old Hollywood. That if this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. Number 17, George Raft, the gangster who lived his roles. George Raft wasn't just playing gangsters, he was one. Before fame, he ran errands for real mobsters like Bugsy Siegel and Meyer Lansky. Hollywood knew, but they loved his authenticity. When fellow actor Paul Kelly killed a man, Raft used his influence to get him back into pictures, something only a man with underworld connections could pull off. Raft's charm masked danger. The studios knew his friendships with gangsters would scare the public, so they built a gentle rogue image for him, the bad boy with a soft heart. But when Siegel was murdered, the FBI reopened files connecting Raft to organized crime. Every trace of those records disappeared from the press, not by accident, but by studio intervention. Raft's image was polished, his friends buried, and Hollywood moved on as if none of it ever happened. Number 16, Paul Kelly, from killer to leading man. Paul Kelly had everything: charm, talent, and a temper that ended in tragedy. In 1927, a drunken fight turned fatal when Kelly beat actor Ray Raymond to death. He served time in San Quentin, but after just 2 years behind bars, Hollywood gave him a second chance. The studios wanted a redemption story, so they erased his conviction from the headlines. Reporters were paid off, and soon Paul Kelly was reborn, the rugged, misunderstood hero. What audiences didn't know was that Kelly's career was carefully rebuilt on silence. The woman he later married? Raymond's widow. That grim irony was something no studio press agent ever mentioned. It was a love story born in guilt, one of the darkest romances in Hollywood's history. Number 15, Steve McQueen, the outlaw spirit. Before he became the king of cool, Steve McQueen was a troubled kid in reform schools, running from cops and sleeping in alleyways. But McQueen carried that edge into every role he played, a real outlaw beneath the movie star grin. Few knew he once faced arrest for drunk and disorderly conduct, and that his time in the Marines ended in near court-martial. Yet the studios loved his defiance. They turned it into marketable rebellion. He was the anti-hero America needed, bold, flawed, irresistible. McQueen's charm hid a dangerous volatility, one Hollywood quietly kept under wraps. When he died suddenly of cancer, whispers began about exposure to asbestos, mysterious treatments in Mexico, and the shadow of government files that hinted at something more. But, like many legends, McQueen's truth was buried with him. Number 14, Edward G. Robinson, the gentleman gangster. Edward G. Robinson was Hollywood's perfect paradox, a refined man who made crime look sophisticated. He was a scholar of art and literature, yet his name ended up on FBI watch lists for alleged communist ties in the McCarthy era. The studios panicked. They couldn't risk losing one of their top box office draws to scandal. So they orchestrated friendly testimonies and quiet apologies, painting Robinson as a patriot who'd simply been misled. Behind closed doors, though, he fought depression and humiliation. Hollywood saved his career, but broke his spirit. When he died, the obituaries celebrated his brilliance, but none mentioned how close he came to being blacklisted forever. Number 13, James Cagney, the man the FBI watched. Cagney was born to play the tough guy. But behind his gangster swagger was a man under government surveillance. The FBI suspected him of communist sympathies, though he denied it until his death. When J. Edgar Hoover's men started digging, Warner Brothers intervened, burning documents and silencing reporters. The studio painted Cagney as fiercely patriotic, even arranging photos of him shaking hands with soldiers and attending rallies. But according to declassified documents decades later, the Bureau never stopped watching him. Cagney's laugh, that quick, punchy accent, and his fearless screen persona were part of a much larger cover, one designed to protect the studio's most bankable star from political ruin. Number 12, Danny Trejo, from Prisoner to Hero. Long before he became a household name, Danny Trejo was an inmate at San Quentin. His life was violence and addiction, until a chance meeting on a movie set changed everything. Trejo wasn't supposed to act. He was hired as a boxing trainer, but impressed the crew so much that they gave him a role. Suddenly, his scars, tattoos, and hardened stare became his trademark. Hollywood loves a comeback, but it rarely admits where those comebacks begin. Trejo's redemption story was real, yet the industry softened the details, the robberies, the solitary confinement, the brutal fights, to make it digestible. In truth, his journey from cell block to silver screen was a miracle built on pain, and no studio press release could ever capture that. Number 11, Lawrence Tierney. The actor too dangerous to handle. Lawrence Tierney's talent was only matched by his temper. He was cast in gangster films because he was volatile, violent, unpredictable. Arrested over a dozen times for assault, he terrified producers and directors alike. The studio system tried to rehabilitate him with psychiatric treatment and image consultants, but Tierney refused to play nice. Eventually, he was blacklisted, not because of crime alone, but because he embodied everything the studios feared. The truth that some stars couldn't be tamed. His legacy became a whispered cautionary tale, the actor whose darkness wasn't an act. Number 10, Elia Kazan, the director who named names. Elia Kazan was one of the greatest directors of his generation, until the day he testified before the House Un-American Activities Committee. He named friends, writers, and colleagues as communists, destroying careers to save his own. The studios rewarded him quietly, keeping his films in rotation while the blacklisted artists he betrayed faded into obscurity. Hollywood wanted to celebrate his genius, but bury his guilt. Even decades later, when he received an honorary Oscar, protesters filled the streets. Kazan's death years later was peaceful, but the wound he left on Hollywood's conscience has never healed. Number 9, Sal Mineo, The Rebel's Tragic End. Sal Mineo, forever immortalized as the sensitive boy in Rebel Without a Cause, seemed destined for greatness. But Hollywood had no place for him as he grew older and more outspoken about his identity. In 1976, he was stabbed to death outside his Los Angeles apartment. The official report said, random robbery, but those who knew him believed it was something darker, retaliation perhaps, or a hate crime buried under bureaucracy. The studios moved swiftly to close the book, releasing sanitized tributes and avoiding questions. The case was solved in name, but to this day, many doubt the story they were told. Number 8, Jean Harlow, The Platinum Tragedy. Jean Harlow was the original blonde bombshell, luminous, funny, heartbreakingly young. But behind her glow was constant pain. She fell ill during the filming of Saratoga in 1937 and died days later, officially of kidney failure. Rumors erupted immediately that her mother refused medical treatment due to strict religious beliefs, that the studio delayed announcing her death to finish shooting, even that she'd been poisoned. The truth was far less cinematic, but no less tragic, a body worn down by overwork and neglect. MGM controlled every detail of the story, ensuring the public remembered only her beauty, not her suffering. Number 7, Natalie Wood, The Night the Ocean Kept It Secret. Natalie Wood's death remains one of Hollywood's most haunting mysteries. A star since childhood, she was adored by millions, but terrified of dark water. In 1981, during a yacht trip with her husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken, she drowned off Catalina Island. The case was ruled accidental, then reopened decades later as new witnesses came forward. Stories changed, timelines shifted, and evidence seemed to vanish. Hollywood stayed silent, loyal to Wagner, one of its own. To this day, The ocean still holds its secret, and Natalie Wood's final moments remain shrouded in unanswered questions. Number 6, Marilyn Monroe, the woman who knew too much. When Marilyn Monroe was found dead in 1962, the world mourned. But not everyone believed the story. Officially, it was an overdose. Unofficially, it was a cover-up. Rumors linked her to both John and Robert Kennedy. Neighbors heard screams, others claimed she'd been injected after death, and still others swore government agents cleared her home before police arrived. The studios moved swiftly to control the narrative to protect the Monroe image that made them millions. Whether it was despair, conspiracy, or something more sinister, one truth endures. Marilyn Monroe died alone, surrounded by secrets. Number 5, Bruce Lee, The Curse of the Dragon. In 1973, Bruce Lee's sudden death at just 32 shocked the world. Officially, it was a reaction to painkillers, but fans and even some family members never accepted that explanation. From triad involvement to an alleged family curse, theories multiplied. What made the tragedy worse was how quickly Hollywood capitalized on it, flooding theaters with tribute films while suppressing investigations into what really happened. Some said his brain swelling was linked to exhaustion, others hinted at poisoning. The truth was drowned in rumor, and the legend of the dragon only grew. Number 4, Brandon Lee, The Shadow of a Father's Curse. Lightning struck twice when Bruce Lee's son, Brandon, died on set in 1993. A prop gun fired a real bullet during the filming of The Crow, killing him instantly. Investigations ruled it accidental, yet inconsistencies piled up, missing safety checks, altered records, and unexplained footage. For the studios, it was a nightmare. They wanted sympathy, not scandal. So they finished the film, dedicated it to Brandon, and buried the questions. To this day, film historians call it one of the most disturbing on-set tragedies ever,